Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So, I just got a very necessary spiritual pep talk from my husband, and it helped a lot. And I don't know why, but for some reason I have like this standard in my head about like what a Muslim should do, but then like when I don't meet that expectation or standard, like I freak out and like seriously get down on myself. And it's like this complete role reversal of like when anyone else needs spiritual pepping, like I'm able to say and what needs to be said in order to get them motivated, in order to help them feel better. But like when it's like in the opposite reciprocation towards me, I feel like it's like even more reason that I should be disappointed in myself. And I think a lot of that has to do with the type of like personality I developed growing up, and that like every small mistake was the end of the world. Every like criticism was about me as a person instead of the work that I put out. Like even like nowadays, like after years of understanding this flaw and like working on it, I still have trouble like removing myself from this type of criticism of my work or like my behavior as like, seeing it as like a personal attack. And it's super difficult because it like directly conflicts with how I should treat myself according to Islam. Like, according to Islam, you should treat yourself with dignity, respect, and care the same as you do with other people. Like, the same generosity, the same kindness, the same level of forgiveness, and you should give that to yourself. Like, a form of ibadah or worship is like sleeping properly, eating on time, like, taking care of yourself physically, spiritually, mentally. Like, these are forms of worship because you're taking care of Allah's creation. And like for some reason, like during either it's a spiritual low or lack of motivation, like this thought is like gone. Like it just doesn't register. Like, and this idea of like having to punish myself for making a mistake or like not feeling adequate because of my mistakes is like in exact opposition to how I should be treating myself. And like I remember when I first became Muslim, like how difficult it was to establish prayer. And like when I finally was able to establish prayer, and establishing prayer doesn't mean like you start praying like as a Muslim. It means like you complete the full 5 prayers of the day, and like on time, in their right time, and like continue to do so. And like when I first established prayer, like I was like given the most peaceful sleep that I'd ever had in like months, because at that point, and like before I became Muslim, I was really struggling and couldn't sleep well. Like, for nearly 9 months, I, like, sleep completely, like, avoided me. And I didn't feel safe in my own house, didn't feel safe in my own head, and only establishing prayer, like, was able to clear up everything. And yet, here I am, almost 5 years later, like, coming up with the same problems of, like, feeling lost and feeling confused or unmotivated and, like, missing prayers. And, like, the whole, like, the answer's right there is, like, to pray. Like, that's what's going to give me peace. That's what's going to give me what I need in order to, like, just get through life. And it's kind of annoying that I have to relearn this lesson all the time. But, like, it's also kind of, like, telling of, you know, just being human. Like, we get run down, we don't take care of ourselves, we, like, constantly need reassurance and help, and, like, it's not a flaw to need help. And yet, myself, speaking from experience, feels like needing help is a flaw. Like, I should be able to do this all on my own. I should be able to, like, keep it up all on my own. But, like, I can't. And, like, getting the necessary support from my husband is, like, always, like, super refreshing and, like, emotional. And, like, it's like, there's a reason why Islam, like, dictates that marriage is fulfilling half of your deen, half of your religious responsibility, because, like, half of your religious responsibility has to do with maintaining being Muslim, maintaining the 5 prayers a day, maintaining, like, proper, just struggling for this cause of Allah. Like, life sucks a lot of the time. Like, it's hard, and it's not gonna get any easier because, like, you are constantly bombarded with new things, new people, new experiences that cause you to struggle. And the point is the fact that, like, when you're struggling, who do you turn to? You turn to Allah. Like, the struggle is to get you to focus on Allah, because Allah is the one who's going to remove the struggle. He's the one who's going to, like, alleviate all of the, like, anxiety, depression, like, problems, distress, and everything. And, like, it's, again, really annoying that I have to, like, relearn this lesson. Feels like, you know, every year, or, like, every, you know, 4 to 6 months, I'm just like, oh yeah, remember that thing? You know, the crux of being Muslim? Yeah, you forgot about that. Time to refresh. And, like, yeah, it's just, like, one of those things where, like, especially with Ramadan coming up, like, I've been feeling even more pressure of, like, how I should act as a Muslim, and the fact that I'm not meeting that standard. And, like, I just have to try. And, like, struggling is going to make it, like, better for me. The more you struggle for Allah, the more rewards you get. and which my husband also reminded me of today. And it's the fact that, like, you're trying for Allah. You're trying because He's the one who gave you all of this. And I heard it explain this one time, like, you know, from a Muslim standpoint to a non-Muslim. The non-Muslim asked, I think she was Christian, like, she asked, like, why should I worship Allah? Like, why should I do anything for Him? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, you know, He doesn't need me. And the Muslim responded saying, like, no, He doesn't need you to worship Him. But, like, imagine not having the ability to see anything. Like, you're completely blind. And then all of a sudden, someone gives you sight. Like, just gives it to you. Nothing, like, you didn't have to pay anything. You didn't have to do anything. They just give you sight. You're going to be thankful to that person. You're going to be grateful to that person for what they gave you. Like, you don't need to give them anything in return. They're not even asking for anything in return. But the fact that they gave you something so amazing, so, like, beyond generous, that, like, you just feel and want to reciprocate by giving thanks, by being grateful, by doing whatever you can for that person. And, like, Allah gave us literally everything and doesn't ask for anything. In, like, he doesn't need us. Like, He knows what's best for us. So, like, the way we should dress, the way we should act towards one another, the way we should do business, the way we should give charity, like, all of these things are good for us. So He gave us this guidance to be like, hey, like, this is going to be the best for you, and I should know because I created you, and, like, this will lead you to me, which, you know, from Allah we came and to Him we return. So, like, this level of gratefulness shouldn't feel like a struggle, shouldn't feel like a burden. And it's the executing, actually practicing Islam that, like, feels so intense sometimes, because, like, we get caught up in worldly things. It's not the fact that we are become ungrateful to Allah, it's the fact that, like, this life, this dunya, is stupid. Like, there's a lot of things that happen in this life that are unfair, are hurtful, are just, like, really stressful and intense. And when we get wrapped up into it, we forget the fact that Allah is waiting on the other side and at the end of the finish line. And, like, then we get to be with Him and be rewarded with, like, even more awesomeness, because the awesomeness that He gave us in this life doesn't even compare to, like, what we'll get in Jannah, in heaven, the hereafter. Like, and it's just something that is so, like, refreshing spiritually, and, like, it's just the reminders. Like, we need these reminders because we're here struggling for the cause of Allah. We're here to get to Jannah. Like, having this opportunity every day to pray and spend time talking to Allah, asking Him for help, asking Him to guide us, or just clear nonsense from our heads. Like, it It's good for us and it helps us. And again, like, we need the reminders because we're still humans and we have too many other things distracting us from what's actually important. And I think that's kind of where I find myself, like, feeling like anything I try to do isn't enough, like, because I feel like in other areas I'm too distracted and I can't focus. But yeah, like, I think we just need to refocus. I need to refocus on what's actually important, and the other things will fall into place. Because Allah has this funny ability to be able to make everything else better. So, yeah, I think it's not only with Ramadan coming up, but just like it was time for a reminder to happen, and I think to a certain extent I was avoiding it because it means that I actually have to put in effort, and sometimes I feel like a lazy lump and I don't want to do anything about anything. But I've lived my life without Allah before, and it was like my life didn't matter, and it was a complete blank spot. And I don't want to live like that. I want to live with a purpose, and I want to live in order to get closer to Allah and inshallah reach Jannah. And I want to be able to help my husband do the same, and any other Muslim, and even the non-Muslims. Like, I want to help everyone get there. Like, whether it's on, it's like, it's always going to be on your timeline, but technically it's on Allah's timeline. Like, how you discover Allah, how you find Him, how you discover truth, like, it's Allah's timing. So, like, I just encourage everybody to, refresh. Just think about the point, the actual purpose of us being here. Set aside the work stuff, set aside the family drama stuff, like the anxieties, everything that's like causing you to be paralyzed, and just think about Allah and what you actually want. And for me, that's just peace from all of this dunya stuff. I want to be with Allah. I want to be with my husband, with Allah. And inshallah, I want to be with everyone I care about. And everyone in the ummah. And those who will join the ummah with Allah. So yeah, I encourage you to just either spark a conversation with somebody or get a pep talk or talking to from your spouse if that's what's needed. But yeah, think about like what comes after, because this dunya isn't it. This isn't the only place. There's a place that's way better. Just few steps, 2 million steps away, but gotta start somewhere. But yeah, I hope everybody's well, mentally, physically, spiritually. Inshallah, you get right with Allah, you get right with yourself, and you get right with others. May Allah keep you happy, healthy, and safe. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.